Hey everybody, I'm Amy Scott. Welcome back to Make Me Smart, where we make today make sense. It is Friday, February 9th. Kai and Kimberly are both out today, so you're stuck with me and the one and only Nova Safo. Hi, Nova.
What a great person to be stuck with. Hi, Amy. Thanks for joining us on the podcast and on the YouTube live stream. It's Friday, and that means it's time for Economics on Tap, the weekly happy hour episode. My favorite time of the week.
Indeed. I feel like we earned it this week. So today we're going to do some news, of course, and we'll take a break and then play a round of half full, half empty. But before we get into it, Nova, what are you drinking?
All right. This is from a winery in Sonoma Valley here in California, a winery called Letson. And it is a first blush rosé wine gifted to me by a friend and colleague, John Beers, from the previous shop where I worked, Agence France Presse. I got it almost a year ago for my birthday. Thank you, John. And I'm drinking it now, and it's delicious.
Oh, that's nice. So you're not of the opinion that rosé is only for summer. I guess if you're in LA, you can kind of drink it whenever.
It's always summer. It's always rosé time in California.
Yeah. Did you feel that earthquake, by the way? Are you close enough?
I'm not in the LA area, so no, I did not.
Oh, where are you?
But I'm in the Central Valley, in the central part of California, in agricultural land at the moment. And I did, though, see the tech conversations back and forth among our colleagues who were a little. Did you
some were rattled.
Yeah.
And others were.
They were a little rattled. I thought it was hilarious. It was a 4-pointer.
Well, it sounds like nobody was hurt, so that's.
I mean, it was a 4.6, I think, on the.
Yeah, I guess to you, Californians,
that's something
nothing
to be rattled by. Yeah, no.
Well,
what are you drinking?
I would have been rattled. So I'm drinking a version of something called Norwegian 75. And this was inspired by my mom, who this summer went to Norway and Sweden and Finland, and she brought back some cloudberry jam. And so I was like, oh, I know people make cocktails with jam. So what can I make with this? And so this is a mix of aquavit and vodka. I'm going to take it slow. It's a little boozy.
Ooh, that looks beautiful.
It's supposed to be lemon juice, but I only had lime. And then instead of champagne, I used some dry cider. So it's kind of like a riff on the Norwegian 75. So we'll see how it is.
That is a complicated drink. I'm impressed.
For a Friday on deadline, absolutely.
How is it?
Channeling Kimberly Adams.
Yeah.
Right. She's
a lot of ingredients.
Hers are often complex and lovely.
Yes.
All right. So let's see. Ooh,
by the way,
said,
10 points. By the way, 10 points on that glass. That's a.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's
really
a little.
lovely.
It's actually like a champagne
Very
bowl.
fancy.
From a local Baltimore shop. All right, so let's see on the YouTube chat what folks are drinking. Let's see, we've got someone says cloudberries are awesome, as are lingonberries, and aquavit. Skull, indeed. Let's see, a lot of earthquake talk. Someone's drinking dragon's milk, maybe in honor of the Year of the Dragon. That would be cool.
What's dragon's milk?
We've got cookies and popcorn, the Friday afternoon snack of champions. Sounds awesome. A quart of Bush. That seems like a lot of Bush. Kentucky Mule, PBR, Boulevardier. Am I saying that
weekend. Right? I don't know. These
Rum
all sound
Coke.
very, some of these sound very exotic. Things I've not heard of.
Tea still at work, Hawaiian Gingerade. Oh,
what kind of
milk
tea, though?
is a bourbon stout. Interesting. All right, thank you for the edification. And I think we've got a birthday in the chat. Debbie Donovan, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Debbie. Thanks for spending it with us.
Should we get to this? Yeah, absolutely. Should we get to some news?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, you want to go first?
Sure. So Janet Yellen was in Capitol Hill 2 days out of this week. Tuesday, she testified at a House Banking Committee hearing, Finance Committee hearing, and yesterday at a Senate Banking Committee hearing. And she didn't necessarily make any huge news, but she said what a lot of people have been thinking and anticipating, which is that we still have some ways to go to get out of the kind of commercial real estate loan what's the word? Quicksand?
Situation. That's the
So
one. Yeah.
that
That's the
we're
one Kai
in.
and I were joking about yesterday
Were
or two
you?
days ago.
Yeah. Were you guys talking about this?
Well, we talked about a little bit about the flashback to about a year ago when we were calling the regional banking thing, not a crisis, but a
Yes.
situation. So, yeah.
Right. And so we're kind of coming to the 1 year of that. And we just had a minor freak out on Wall Street, having to do with, what was that? New York Community Bank,
Yeah.
which came out in about, 8 days ago or so, and said, by the way, our loan losses and the provisions we're setting aside are bigger than we expected. They said one-time events, unusual events, but they had to do with commercial real estate. And so investors panicked. They've lost more than half of their stock value. They had to come out, I think, on Wednesday and say, the bank, we have enough capital. But anytime a bank has to come out and say that, of course, is very bad news for that bank, even if it's true, because banking is all about trust in that institution and its ability to give you money when you need it. So in
Right.
any case, it's almost sounding like a minor repeat. And what Yellen said this week at both at the House and Senate is she doesn't think there is a systemic risk to the financial system as a whole, which is good news. But she said she does think we're not out of the woods, and the smaller banks are definitely not out of the woods. So there could still be plenty of losses at smaller institutions. Could more need to be absorbed by others, by larger institutions? Who knows? But they're definitely not out of the woods yet. And one thing she pointed to, which I thought was really interesting, is she pointed to non-bank mortgage lenders. So these are
Hmm.
companies like, well, I'm naming these companies just because they are these mortgage lenders, not necessarily that they have this exposure. So I just want to make that clear. But Rocket Mortgage, Guaranteed Rate, these are non-bank mortgage lenders. You can go there, get a mortgage. A lot of people do. I've used Guaranteed Rate in the past. The question is whether the types of these lenders that may have exposure to too much of the wrong kind of mortgages could end up in trouble because they don't have access to the same kind of capital and resources from the Fed, for example, that regular banks do in times of stress. So
Right.
Yellen pointed to those specifically and said, we could see some trouble in that part of it, but again, not a systemic level of trouble. At least that's not what they're anticipating.
Yeah. Well, and so far the markets have kind of shrugged this off. Uh,
Hmm.
am I right? I mean, it doesn't seem to be sparking the kind of contagion or fear that we saw almost a year ago. But
It
something to watch for
isn't.
sure.
It isn't sparking the same kind of contagion, but we are definitely have seen some regional bank stocks take a hit.
Yeah.
In addition to New York Community Bank, we've seen shares come down a bit, but yes, we are not seeing that kind of panicked bank run, basically a digital bank run that we saw last year, having to do with Silicon Valley Bank and Signature.
All right.
What do you got?
Well, switching gears, just to talk about the labor force, the Wall Street Journal broke down data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics about the makeup of various professions by gender and race. And they have these really handy charts, very colorful. It's fun to look at. But there's some really striking differences or disparities in the labor force, even beyond what I think some of the stereotypes are. So let's start with gender. This data is still binary, male or female. There's not the nuance
Mm.
that some might like to see, but overall, the workforce was roughly 47% women in 2023, 53% men. Um, but some professions are really skewed toward one or the other. So we know education, and particularly early childhood education, has long been dominated by women. But Nova, if you had to guess what percentage of preschool and kindergarten teachers are women, what do you think it would be?
I mean, from my experience, although that was a while ago, I don't know, like 70, 80%.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well,
Oh,
it's
I
actually
bet you.
96.7%. Yeah.
Wow.
I know,
Basically
it's
almost
really
all.
striking.
That's crazy.
I have to say my kids had a couple of male teachers, so they were the outliers apparently. So I knew that was
Yeah.
high, but I was really surprised by that. But that's not even the highest percentage. 99% of skincare specialists are women. And
Huh.
I think this is more of a cosmetic job, like not dermatologists, but people who do body
Oh,
treatments, face care, and stuff
okay.
like that. So maybe not
Yeah.
that surprising. Legal secretaries and administrative assistants, 96.4% female. Dental hygienists, almost
Wow.
96%. Speech language pathologists, 94%. As the journal says in its article, there are sociology textbooks to be written or worth of explanations for these numbers.
Yeah.
We're not going to go into that here, but I definitely recommend checking this out. It's pretty interesting. And there are also some stark racial and ethnic disparities. Of course, professions that are dominated by men. There are, though, a couple that are sort of balanced according to the makeup of the workforce. And the professions that reflect the overall racial and ethnic makeup of the workforce were that I noticed were hairdressers and cosmologists,
Hmm.
payroll and timekeeping clerks, and human resource managers. So there
Human
you go.
resource managers. The HR folks have got it figured out, which is good.
They've got it somewhat in balance. Yeah. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like there are many marketplace stories to be done about the data in this story.
That is interesting. Did it talk at all about how the data might have changed over the years, if at all?
Not in this story, yeah.
Yeah.
But that would
I'd be
be
curious
really
about that,
interesting to
wouldn't it?
see. Yeah, because the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, tracks all this stuff, so you could do some
Yeah.
interesting comparisons.
It reminds me of when I was a kid, right? I mean, you do face well-meaning, but kind of pervasive signals of what boys are supposed to grow up to do and what girls are supposed to grow up to. And I think if we've gotten better over the decades of trying to counteract that and be aware of it and maybe try to avoid those kinds of signals at kids, but it's still there, I think, and
Yeah,
still
and then
something we
obviously
really
some
have to
of
be
this is
actively
about
thinking about.
choice and who you know and what you know is available to you, what might be an
Hmm.
easier position for a working mother, for example, to take. I
Hmm.
think
That
not
too.
all of this is that sort of bias we all grow up with. But yeah, I mean the
Right.
construction industry, I've done a lot of stories about how they're trying to get more women into the field,
That's
but
right.
in this data, so last year, 99% of construction equipment operators were men. Almost as many pipe layers, masons, uh, bus and truck mechanics, and loggers. So there's clearly work to do if we
Wow.
want these workforces to be more diverse and make these often very well paid jobs available to more women.
Yeah, for example, in the construction industry, being a tradesperson, not a tradesman, a
There you
tradesperson.
go.
So there you go, right? With like specific skills like electrician is highly prized, and pays well, very well,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Especially these days, especially in
Yeah,
California, where,
in demand.
we cannot build enough homes. Yeah, indeed. And now we're building a high-speed rail line, and we've hired tens of thousands of workers to get that done in the Central Valley, for example, here. Yeah,
Hmm.
high-skilled labor is very in demand in the construction side right now.
Yep.
Anyway,
All right.
yeah,
I think it's your
shall
line.
we? Is it? Hang on, I gotta find the script. All right, that's it for the news. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll play a round of half full, half empty. We'll be right back.
All right, we are back, and it's time to play Half Full, Half Empty, hosted by our very own Drew Jostad. Take it away, Drew.
Drew.
All right, some colleges are bringing back the requirement for the SAT and the ACT scores on your application. Are you half full or
Hmm,
half empty?
I missed the story. Had you heard about it? I
Yeah,
didn't.
so a lot of colleges had been getting rid of these scores for equity purposes,
Yeah.
right? But finding, I think, that grades are not a perfect substitute. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
variation, of course, in grading, depending on where you go to school, and some schools are bringing it back. Um, I guess I'm I haven't studied enough to figure out how I feel about this. Drew, tell me more. Like, was it
Yeah.
Dartmouth? I'm trying to remember who did
Yeah,
this first.
the headline this week was Dartmouth College. From what I remember, they were hoping that it would help equity in admissions, but it maybe seems to have gone the other way
Hmm.
since they made it
Yeah.
optional.
Interesting.
Yeah,
The
and of
jury's out
course,
on whether it helps, I guess.
yeah, and of course, affirmative action has been challenged, and so colleges are really kind of limited in what they can do to try to increase diversity. So yeah, I guess I'm right down the middle. Is that an option?
It's a tough one, right? Because you want a fair way to assess students across the board around the country. Because yes, schools can vary dramatically, and the education folks have gotten can vary dramatically, and the grade systems can vary dramatically. But we know that the SAT especially has been not the best test for a very long time. So the question is, can we get that test improved enough so that it is a fair test and it is a fair assessment of skill and critical thinking, and not just an assessment of who had the money to go to the school that knew how to teach you to the test
Right.
or
It's
get the
less a
tutor.
measure of knowledge than of advantage in some ways.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think we're still trying to figure out a fair way to do college admissions.
that's a toughie. Yeah, but I think I'm half empty until the SATs are a better way of assessing folks. Um, yeah,
Good one,
All
Drew.
right.
Stump the
Are
yeah, that's a
host.
tough one.
Well, wait till you hear this one. Are you
Uh-oh.
half full or half empty on bringing your own takeout boxes when dining out?
Oh my gosh, is that happening?
Wait, what? Empty takeout boxes.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Right.
washed.
No, that's just
Tell me more. Tell
that's
me more.
so. Okay, yeah, tell us more.
This was just a piece. I don't know that it's like a statistical trend or something, but it was an opinion piece in Eater advocating for people to try to save plastic and maybe save the restaurant's labor hours of having to stock all those to-go containers for their
All right. Well,
customers.
I am half full for sure because even though that sounds like a pain, I have recently learned, Kai and I did an interview on this show a while back about plastics, single-use plastics, and how even if it has a little recycle sign and a number on it, you can't necessarily recycle that plastic. And a lot of it, and that's, mostly the takeout containers are made of this stuff that can't be recycled. And so you're
Yes.
throwing it away, and or if you put it in your recycling, it's still going to get tossed eventually. And so we know about the harms of all this single-use plastic, so I guess I'm in favor of it. But I'm the kind of person who's like, oh, I forgot the bags at the grocery store. I can see myself not being the best participant in this experiment, but I would like to.
I have to stay half empty. It just seems like
Nova.
it's bad etiquette. It's bad etiquette. You're showing up somewhere going, you know what? I'm not going to finish this meal because I got to go someplace, and I'm just going to bring this
It's
to
like if
go
you're
back.
ordering
It's like
takeout,
a
it's not like
weird.
leftovers.
Oh, I see. Like if you're ordering takeout, that's one thing, but if you're like at a restaurant sitting down, please don't take. I mean, I assume that's what I thought, and I'm like, no, don't do that. That's awful. Oh, how about this? If you are sitting at a restaurant and you like order smaller portions or order one and share, err on the side of ordering less to start with
Well,
and
I
finishing
would fully support that
what your
too.
meal. Yeah, I thought that's what that was about. But if you're ordering takeout, but even then though, like
No,
how does that even work?
like doggy. This is about like a
This is
doggy
doggy
bag.
bags,
Like,
right?
yeah,
Oh,
No, no,
this
no,
yeah.
no,
is. So
no.
you
You
were
can't.
right. I was wrong.
No, you can't
Oh
take that.
man.
You can't do that. That is terrible etiquette. Restaurants should definitely not be putting things in unrecyclable containers. That's horrible.
Well, people
Too many
bring their
still
own
do.
coffee mugs to Starbucks. I mean, how is it really different?
Starbucks is a coffee shop. When you're going to a restaurant to a sit down dinner, it's a different thing. And yeah, order smaller portions. Finish your
Okay.
plate.
How about provide
Share
smaller portions? Because there's not
that
usually an
too.
option. Can I just get
right? Which
half
is why
an
you should
order
share.
for full price?
Right.
Yeah.
Or just share a plate,
All right, we better move on.
Yeah, sure.
We're never
This
gonna
is going to
finish
get
this.
heated. On
This is-
February 19th,
I wonder if we have any comments.
Coca-Cola is coming out with a new flavor with raspberry and spice notes. Are you half full or half empty on Coca-Cola spiced?
Oh man, I used to love a good cherry Coke. It's not that different. I'm half full. Innovate, people. I don't drink pop anyway, and I say pop, so don't at me.
Yeah, I was about to actually at you.
Yeah, I live with someone who constantly teases me about it.
Pap. Can you say it the right way?
I don't say
though?
pap.
Say out a pap. No? Okay. No, half empty on any flavor other than original classic Coke. Cherry Coke tastes like cough medicine to me. I can't stomach it, so I can't imagine some spiced concoction, which I couldn't even follow all the flavors you just mentioned, Drew. So no,
Raspberry
that's a
and
no.
something else. Yeah. All right.
And spices, no, half empty. Please don't do that, people.
All right, next story. This is reporting from the New York Times. On Thursday, Australia's Senate passed a bill that will allow workers to ignore calls that come outside working hours without repercussions. Are you half full or half
Ooh.
empty?
I
Wow,
saw
that's a
this
law?
by
Mhm.
law.
I feel like I can't really weigh in on this without like triggering the like, are you for or against less government regulation? I will say that I'm half full on employees being given a pass to ignore after hours calls because that just really is tough. Like, especially if it's your boss, you feel like you can't really ignore it. And I've had some sleepless nights because of calls like that. So I'm half full on the concept.
Were you working
I
here
don't know
at
if
the
it's
time?
the government's job. Oh, I can't say that, Nova.
Really, so you're for it, but you maybe not as a law.
Well, I don't know if
like,
government is if like a federal law is the right solution
how
for
would you
that,
enforce
but
that?
I'm not gonna.
Maybe through.
I don't know. I think
Yeah.
companies should just like say, look, we're not going to do this to you people unless it's an emergency.
Yeah. I think it's a good law because because there are plenty of employers out there who won't do the right thing unless they're compelled. We know this. We have a National Labor Relations Board for this, and we have a bunch of labor laws. I think it's a interesting experiment that Australia is doing. I think it's really, I think it's a sign of the times, the post-pandemic times, when we're kind of reassessing our relationship with work in some ways. And the idea that
Absolutely.
there should be a turn off, there should be a time where you turn the switch off, right? And do something else. And so I think first of all, it's a very healthy way of working. And hopefully if it is something that is regulated, it can be implemented throughout the economy as opposed to each company having to decide, will we be at a competitive advantage or disadvantage if we do this or don't do this, if it's kind of a across the board
Well,
thing.
I can hear employers saying we need the flexibility. Like, we got a business to run. This could be extremely difficult to comply with. So, I mean, I kind of that's I guess why we don't have to. We can just say half full
Yeah, and
because I
we'll have to
I
agree
can
to
see
disagree.
both sides of the issue. All right, I think this is the last, right, Drew? Is this
Are we
the
at the
final
Correct.
topic? So those of you
This
in the
is the
YouTube
poll
chat,
topic.
you can vote
Oh, it's
in
exciting.
our live poll. Hit it.
I'm excited.
Are you half full or half empty on people incorporating Taylor Swift into their Super Bowl bets?
I knew there was going to be a Taylor Swift question.
I knew that was going to
I
be a
just
Super
knew
Bowl
it.
question. Like what?
All right, so
Drew?
we'll
Can you give
hold
us-
off on, give us an example.
Yeah, give us some
Like
examples.
betting
vote.
on who she will sit with or what she's going to wear to the Super Bowl.
Interesting.
All right.
I saw
Well,
a note.
I'm
actually-
gonna before I weigh in, I'm just gonna say
Yeah.
like I'm a heartbroken Ravens fan, so I just like
Is
you
that a
just got to
team?
know
Just
that
kidding.
about what?
That
That
was
just
I don't know anything
hurts.
about sports joke.
That was
No,
violence.
it's just my
Nova.
sports experience. Well, I think there was some NFL official today, right? There was a quote saying something to the effect of they're so excited because Taylor Swift is bringing in all these eyeballs and interest that they legitimately don't think they would have had otherwise to this year's Super Bowl. Was that right, Drew? Did that happen today too?
I don't know
I wanna
about
put you on
that.
the spot. You don't?
Probably.
You don't know about
I'm not,
everything?
I'm not, wasn't on the Taylor Swift beat
Unbelievable.
today.
Unbelievable. What?
How did you miss it?
I know.
All right. So how
I heard something about that
we have 139
do we have them?
votes. How much
Is
more
it
time should I give
closed?
it before
Or-
I put a nail in this coffin?
That sounds like enough votes.
All
All
right.
right. What do we got?
I'm half empty. I'm tired
What
of
does
the
the
whole
poll say?
thing. I'm just tired.
You're tired?
Ravens notwithstanding.
Oh.
I mean, it's fine if it makes it fun for people, that's great. I'm gonna sit this one out. How about you,
I'm
Nova?
half full. Half full. We are really
I knew you would
disagreeing
be.
today.
I
am
know. I
half
think
full
we would
only
be friends in real life, but like
I know,
not in the
right?
show.
Not in the show, no. I think it's a cultural moment, and it's a good thing. In a way, we're kind of bringing two cultural silos together, right? We have the kind of popular music silo, the Swifties, and then you have, the football fans, and and a lot of times there's too much air between our various interests. Sometimes, I think, for a lot of people. I know almost nothing about football. I'll speak for myself. And so I think this is a wonderful opportunity to kind of like bring us together in a way. I think it's been a wonderful thing, this whole Taylor Swift NFL thing. It's good
Well,
for
that
people.
is
It's good
just
for our
lovely.
culture.
That's
I think
just
it is.
lovely
It's
for
really
you.
nice. Plus the 49ers
All
are
right,
in
so the
game,
votes are
so
in. I have to say the majority is with me. Drew, do you usually read the
really,
results?
they're
Or
usually with me. Drew, tell us. Yeah, give us the numbers.
Oh, I'm not on the YouTube. I don't
okay,
have
I'll do it.
access
I'll
to
do it.
these.
Oh, you
I
don't?
forgot how
Okay.
this works. I usually
Someone give
make
us the
Kimberly do
numbers.
all the heavy lifting. Okay,
Oh,
so
really?
half empty, 68%. Yeah,
Hmm.
people. Half full, 31%. I guess more people are tired of it. Yeah, but I mean,
Last
as
week
I
the
said,
public was
like
with me,
have
but what are you gonna
fun.
do?
It's like we all need
Yeah.
fun. And if you're into it, I think that's great.
But why are folks half empty? I don't get it. It's very
That's for another
very strange.
episode. All right, that is
Indeed.
it for us today. Kai and Kimberly will be back on Monday. In the meantime, if you've got a question or comment you want to share with us, leave us a voicemail at 508-UB-SMART, or you can email makemesmart@marketplace.org.
All right, Make Me Smart is produced by Courtney Bergseeger. Today's episode was engineered by Charlton Thorpe. Our intern is Talia Menchaca.
And the team behind our Friday game is Emily McCune and Antoinette Brock. Marissa Cabrera is our senior producer. Bridget Bodner is the director of podcasts. And Francesca Levy is the executive director of digital and on demand.
Both of those
Are
things.
you going to watch on Sunday, Nova?
Nah. Are you?